Holy shit. Guys, I just woke up from the craziest nightmare in the entire world. Oh my god.
What was it?
It was weird. It was weird. It was like the Nuggets beat the Clippers, and it wasn't even like a good game. Like they just got thrashed. That's a dream, right? That didn't actually happen.
I got some bad news for you, buddy.
If you want to care, look at the person behind Kevin. That was the problem to all of this.
Welcome to the Deep Three podcast, folks. Goddamn.
Yes, sir.
Your boy Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray had words with the Clippers, and it was a vicious cycle of unnecessary rebounds by Jokic. Boys, why don't we get some initial reactions from the game? Sam, what were your initial reactions from this game?
Like I said in the message, I immediately bought a Jamal Murray jersey. Okay, the man, and I know we talk about this off the pod, but like we talk about Tyler Hero making these ridiculous shots. Jamal Murray did what Trae Young, what Steph Curry, what Damian Lillard did, but wins games. Okay, I'm just being real.
Dang.
I know that's a lot saying it, but like Jamal Murray's praise has gone from like, oh, this guy probably will just be like maybe all-star level. He doesn't even have an all-star yet, but this kid's proven to be like potential superstar level in the next few years, just with how this team has gone. And it's so weird because this team has gone through two, back-to-back game sevens, and just proven the whole world wrong. And I think we had a lot of doubts coming from after the Utah series, right? Where they're like, okay, if these guys are gassed by a 7-seed Utah Jazz team who, fought against a man who started the whole coronavirus outbreak. I mean, he didn't start the whole, but that Rudy Gooby, we love you, but we hate you.
Yeah.
But going off of that, it was just like impressive to see the performance that Jamal Murray had consistently, because that was his biggest weakness, is that game after game, it would go from a 47-point game to like a 12-point game. That's not what we want.
Yeah.
What I want from a Jamal Murray is 20-something points a game, maybe 8 assists, 6 rebounds. Like, I want a solid guard game. And he did that. He beyond our expectations. I was just blown away. That's awesome. I'm in Denver too, guys. So, sold. I'm a Nuggets fan. All right? Done
Yeah.
deal.
I love it. I love their jerseys too, and I love their home city jerseys. So, all aboard the Nuggets train. Choo choo, Kevin. I know we have our initial reaction for Jamal Murray. Do you have any other anything else to say? Maybe some I told you so's.
That's literally all I was gonna say. Is I told y'all from day one that Paul George on the Clippers was overrated. I told y'all, and now everyone's like, "Man, Paul George on the Clippers is a little overrated. Like he really didn't show up." I'm just over here, like I swear to God,
just sipping your tea.
It was, but for real, that's embarrassing for the Clippers team. Like what they did in Game 7. And I know, like, yeah, Kawhi had an off game. Like the rest of their team didn't play well, and you can have off games. But it's Game 7 of the playoffs. You got to show up. And if you're not showing up, that's on you. That's on Paul George. That's on Kawhi. Get that shit out of here. If you ever bring Paul George up for MVP candidate, get that shit out of here. Absolute garbage.
And to add on to that, sir, it was a 3-1 lead, okay? It was a 3-1 fucking lead. You were up by 16 entering the fourth quarter for back-to-back games, and you blew it. I don't know if you guys saw the margins, but it was a minus 36 for the Nuggets, and then it was like a plus 67, which is nuts. Okay, that is nuts.
Holy
that is unreal. And that's not a takeaway from what the Nuggets did, because what they did was phenomenal from an offensive standpoint and even defensive standpoint. I mean, what you saw Nikola Jokic do was unreal. Montrezl Harrell could not do shit in the paint, okay? Kawhi Leonard was terrified. Kawhi Leonard did not go in the paint. Paul George could not hang, boys. Could not hang, all right?
I'm just, for whatever reason, the number 24 is coming to my head. I'm not going to harp on that too much. Sam, why don't you take us to the main crux of the show?
Main crux? All right.
Yeah.
Boys, NBA updates. D'Antoni is out as the Houston Rockets coach. Very interesting. He said this on the plane back to Houston, boys. He said it on the plane. He told Daryl Morey, he told the players, like, hey, I'm not coming back. That must have been the most awkward 3-hour flight I would probably have as a coach. I mean, I think there was mutual disagreement just because he wanted more money. Because he put Houston back on the map. To be honest, I know we had James Harden, but he made James Harden to a completely different player than what we should have expected.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I think he wanted Chris Paul to stay, but because of the James Harden factor, not wanting old man Chris Paul, it keeps changing his whole game plan. They fired his coaching staff, even did not let him to hire his own coaching staff, which is ridiculous because you're not on the same page at that point. But D'Antoni is gone. Hopefully on to better things. The man has created such great teams that are always lackluster in the playoffs, from the Phoenix Suns. I don't even want to say the Knicks team, but the Knicks teams with Melo, Amari Stoudemire, Jeremy Lin. He did make Jeremy Lin thing. He went to LA for that short gig when Dwight Howard was the first time there, and when Steve Nash was there, but Steve Nash never played a game because he broke his back, basically. But man is out of Houston. He made a lot of teams happen. Where does D'Antoni go from here, boys? Matt, we'll start with you.
I mean, if he really did, since he did bring up that Houston team to actually become something good, and he's really good with individual players, obviously with James Harden and whatnot. Why not the Knicks? Obviously, their dreams of getting your boy Pop fell through quite poorly. But what are you gonna do? What the fuck are you gonna do? Oh wait, no, that was the Nets, right? Yeah, that was the Nets.
Wow, man, this guy. Can we get a heat check on this boy?
Man.
Heat check.
Anyway, yeah, the Knicks. Why not? Fuck it. Get D'Antoni over there. You might as well. I don't know what else. How cool would it be if he went to the Knicks and actually made that team decent? I don't know about you, but I would be getting offers every day from turning that team into actually something pretty good.
Well,
that's just my 2 cents.
I just like to burst that bubble real quick, but the Knicks already have their coach. Was your boy Tom Froggy Throat Thibodeau?
Yeah, we'll see how long that lasts.
All right, for someone that's into basketball, Kevin, maybe.
No, I got it lined up. I know exactly. OKC, come on. He wants to follow Chris Paul. He wants his Chris Paul. Dude, he likes him though for some reason. I don't, but he does. Otherwise, though, I think I don't know if this would be a good fit, but I think they will want to try and get him there. I think that OKC team has enough talent, especially in SGA, that D'Antoni could kind of shape the team around SGA, and I think he could do it well there. Again, I don't know if that's the best fit necessarily, but I think that could be where a reasonable choice of where he ends up.
Boys, we're making a mistake here, all right? The team he's going is to New Orleans, the perfect potential team, the perfect juggernaut squad right here. Think about it. Lonzo Ball is absolute garbage. Think about how his game could evolve having a Mike D'Antoni offense. Basically, you're going to have Mochaccino. I'm going to say it's a little racist, but it's pretty racist. It's exclusively racist. But Steve Nash, okay?
Oh my God.
Editor, please just keep it in there because we don't know how to edit this effectively. But essentially,
it's cool.
We create Steve Nash here, is what I'm trying to say. Because what Mike D'Antoni has done has been, how do you make these tall guards super essential? Make sure they're really good ball handlers. In our case, Lonzo Ball can neither handle the ball nor shoot. So this is the perfect project for him. And think about what Zion can do from an offensive standpoint besides just run around like a giant refrigerator, just dunking on some hoes. As much as we like that, but he can get stopped very easily just because he doesn't have the height for it in terms of that. But the team has a lot of potential. I mean, and they have a vet like Drew Holiday as well. And then also evolve Brandon Ingram. Sure, this team will never play defense, but it's the D'Antoni system, right? It never fails, right? That's the whole point. Get to the playoffs, make the team look good, do that for 3 years, get fired, go to the next team. That's the D'Antoni system. But I feel like that would be the most interesting way to go about it, creating Lil Brown, Steve Nash.
Lil Brown, Steve Nash.
I actually do like.
Not bad.
Now that I think about it, but I think that takes some work. That takes some work to make Lonzo actually good. I think he had a couple good games this year, and then we saw him in the playoffs just literally just shit the bed, or not the playoffs, the bubble, but we saw him just shit the bed, like absolute garbage, trash, horrible. So I think if that happens, D'Antoni's got his work cut out for him. So.
Well, I mean, look, if I'm D'Antoni, man's like almost 70. Like, I'm gonna be pretty tired of this shit too. So I definitely see that point there. I just think it's the perfect way to actually utilize your system, just because it's like there's been no good coaching in there. I'm sorry to say that, but I already forgot who's the last coach there. I already forgot his name. Like, whoever was coaching there, trash is what his name was. Trash. Okay, garbage can, trash. First name garbage can, garbage hyphen can. Last name trash. That's what it was. Alvin Gentry. That's what it was. Same thing. Anyways, Mike D'Antoni, we wish you the best. See you in Cancun soon. Hopefully you see Pat Bev there in his Timbs. But we'll get into that later. But along the lines for the Rockets, D'Antoni's gone. What is the next step for this team? Do we blow it up? I know it's crazy to say because you trade all your assets to get Russell Westbrook. Don't get me wrong, great regular season player, but just never good in the playoffs. That just happens. Like, he'll always be a support player. He'll never be like a star player in that case. What do we do with this team? Kevin, we'll start with you.
I think you still run it back because I think you still have a lot of good talent in that team. And the biggest thing, too, is a lot of good chemistry. Like, I know it's a small ball team and it's kind of weird, but I think everyone does play really well together. And yeah, they kind of choked in the playoffs because they're the Rockets and Russ Westbrook and James Harden, and that's what they do. But I think in general, you have a really strong core of a team. I mean, that starting five is really good. All of the players individually are really good, and I think to blow it up would be a mistake. I could understand blowing it up if you had just Harden and Westbrook, and those were your best guys, and then the rest of your team was okay. Then yeah, blow it up, try and get some younger guys in, whatever. But you have a solid supporting cast. You have Rocco, you have PJ, you have House. Like, you have good people on that team. Okay, House I listed last for that reason, so shut up. I see you. But still, like, it's not like he's a terrible player. Like, he's not the best one on the team, but he's a good supporting member of that lineup.
Hey, the only person supporting is that lady he had in his room. Just saying, only person he supported. Let's be real. Matt, do you think Daryl Morey, whatever your last name is, I don't give a fuck at this point. Do you think this man is staying next year? I know the owner has been pretty adamant about, like, this is probably going to be his last year. I mean, he's been pretty open about, like, how much he dislikes Daryl Morey, at least from what he's made his stances on. Don't get me wrong, the whole Hong Kong thing, I definitely get the ideology for it. Like, don't get me wrong, I totally respect that. I just personally think it's so bad timing. But on the other side, just as an overall GM, you threw away so many assets for a possible quote-unquote washed-up MVP. At least not washed up, but more of post-peak MVP. I mean, it's been 4 years since he won it. So what do we think we go for Daryl Morey here?
Man, if you're really adamant about leaving, honestly, I would just cut your losses and head out to somewhere else, or even just like quit the job altogether. Maybe don't be a general manager, I guess, if you're that bad. Like, look, the Rockets aren't a bad team. As much as it kills me to say that, they just choke. And I guess that's not really on Daryl Morey. That's not his problem. That's more so the Rockets team in general and maybe the coaching. But he made the right move to get Russell Westbrook, right? He made the right move to try and change this team around. The small ball has shown to work. It's just when you put these guys up against LeBron James, a veteran, and a freak of nature, you're going to lose. That's what's going to happen. You're going to lose. I don't really know why he would stay, except if he has something like under his sleeve. Like, if he has like another move that's kind of hidden, if he has a coach in mind, who is going to do fantastic things for that team. If he has a player that he really wants to shoot for and go for, then maybe he stays, but I don't really see the reason. I don't really see there being much of a reason.
No, that's fair. That's a good point. I do have an interesting proposal. Just a 1-for-1 trade. Russell Westbrook for Joel Embiid. How do we feel about this?
Oh God, I'd feel so bad for Philadelphia.
Dang. Immediate praise. Hold on.
So
the
bad.
Immediate praise for Russell Westbrook. Be like, man, Philly, I'm so sorry.
No, it's not. It's not even just like, it's like, don't get me wrong. All right, Russell Westbrook is a great player, especially for his age. He did fantastic this season. He was doing awesome. It's just like, you have like what, a Ben Simmons duplicate who can shoot a little bit better. Like, you're not really doing much from getting Russell Westbrook on that team. Joel Embiid on the Rockets, that gives you some, that gives you a big guy. But that also throws away your entire small ball lineup. Whatever the Rockets do, it's going to be really, really funny. But I don't know if I like that trade if I'm Philadelphia.
Valid. Kevin, do you think this is a valid trade for either side?
I actually agree with Matt. I think if you're the
For the
Rockets,
first time ever on this podcast, Kevin has agreed with me.
I think if you're the Rockets, you jump on that as soon as possible, and you get Joel Embiid, say fuck small ball as quick as you started it. But I don't see any reason Philly would want that. Like, then they'd be playing small ball with Tobias Harris and Al Horford, because they're not big guys at all. And then, like, what, Ben Simmons is your big guy, kind of? Ooh,
yeah, but, like, Ben Simmons, his entire game is being a big guy, isn't it? Like, he's like a big dude who can dribble, Like, that's essentially his game. He doesn't shoot the three ball. He doesn't shoot at all. So I guess the best position for Ben Simmons to be in would be a 4 or 5.
That's
the most sense to me.
I think he'd be a really good forward, but like, I don't think he'd be a good center ever. Like,
no, he's too small for that.
And that's why I don't think anyone on that team is a good starting center if you get rid of Joel Embiid. Like, Al Horford, okay. Tobias Harris, again, he's good at playing the four, but I don't really think he could hold up against other big men like Anthony Davis or Joel Embiid. I think he's a great player, but yeah, I think the Sixers really lose that trade.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair. I just had to double down on what you said was Tobias Harris, great player. Silly talk, delusional. I don't know what you've been watching, but for the amount of money that man is paid, he's been the most absolutely garbage man I've ever seen in my life. I'm sorry, Tobias Harris, but I'm not sorry at all.
He's overpaid. He's overpaid insanely. I think he should be way paid less. But I think for what he should be paid, he's a good player. He's a good six man. Let's go with that.
He's paid a max contract. He's getting paid $140 million over 5 years.
That's a Sixers fault. That's a Sixers fault.
This man, Kevin O'Brien, Vlade Divac. That's what I gotta say right now. That's our title. Kevin O'Brien equals Vlade Divac right now. All right. I just want you to say, Buddy Hield got the max extension, and he's a six man on that roster. Okay, what are we doing here? All right, what are we doing? Let's move on before Sam gets raged. On some finalized news, hopefully, NBA draft November 16th, which probably means that the NBA season won't start on Christmas. As much as we would want that, it's too much basketball. I'm sorry, it's a lot of basketball for everyone. People need a break, even because some of these guys have been at Orlando for it's been 2 months now. It's going to be almost 3 months at that point. And to capitalize on that draft, which team is going to be making some good moves. The Toronto Raptors boys, as they signed a max contract, which is weird, for Nick Nurse, and Masai Ujiri is also going to be getting a max extension as well, along with their assistant GM as well. It looks like they're building a formidable force in the front office, which is awesome because Masai Ujiri got some great insight in terms of that. But how do we feel? Do we feel confident that Nick Nurse can actually evolve this game even further with the roster? I know that this roster is kind of aging out, but let's just say we get some new guys and we get OG more minutes. Marcus Gasol starts going to the bench and kind of stuff like that. How confident do we feel that Toronto Raptors have a chance next season?
I think what Nick Nurse has versus what most other current old coaches have is Nick Nurse is dynamic. Nick Nurse can change his game plan depending on who he has and can evolve his game plan. D'Antoni is going to be D'Antoni wherever he goes, and we all know what it's going to be like when we play a D'Antoni team. Whereas I think Nick Nurse has that skill, but also that youth to change and be flexible with whatever roster he has. And so I think he really can do a lot of work as long as he has the tools to be successful.
Gotcha. No, that's fair. And I think I think I'm going to mention it now because we may not have a chance later, but am I the only one that felt really disappointed? I know we're putting too much pressure on this guy already, but Pascal Siakam, Spicy P, very not spicy this last round against the Celtics. And I'm just saying that not only because he wasn't playing that much great on defense, especially that Game 6 game, but from an offensive standpoint, it was horrendous. When you have a guy like Semi Ojeleye, the man where you have at least 8 inches on, how are you not? Why are you doing fadeaways? I don't understand. You're not Dirk Nowitzki, okay? You don't have that shot. Like, I'm sorry. Like, no one will ever have a Dirk Nowitzki shot or like a Kawhi shot. It's really hard to mimic unless you have great shooting coaches. Pascal, body this man up. You're wearing some KDs. Watch the Achilles, okay? I'm just saying, post this man up, dunk on these hoes. Like, the guy is 6'4", and you're like 6'11". Like, come on. You can't be messing around here. I was just utterly disappointed. We'll probably talk about it more next episode when we reassess these players. But how did you guys feel about Pascal Siakam's performance? I don't know. I was very just lackluster. Maybe I just had such a high expectation, but I don't know. I just feel like the man had like 25 points a game during the regular season, and then it was just not showing that performance at all.
I think he had like a little bit of the performance. He had the little bit, but like I definitely agree. He was very lackluster in the playoffs. I'm kind of interested to see what the hell happened because man, I mean, the Raptors were on fire this year, and I was super pumped to see how well they would do. Look, I get it. You know, you're going against the juggernaut Celtics. You know, the Irish mob, the Boston. I'm gonna wreck your entire life. I get it. They're like the best team ever. I get it. Don't worry about it. But it's definitely not what I wanted to see from him going forward, especially in the playoffs. I don't know about you guys, but Spicy P, he should be like the team, right? He should be the main guy on that team. He should be the captain. He should be the one that takes over essentially when Kawhi left. And you cannot have your best player basically shitting the bed. It was really underwhelming for me, honestly.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely hard to take on that role when you have someone vocal and like veteran status as someone like a Kyle Lowry. And don't get me wrong, he played phenomenal in my opinion throughout this playoffs. Because I remember a couple years ago when DeMar DeRozan was still there, the man had called his opponent coach Tyronn Lue, his like mentor, for advice when they're playing against the Cavs. I'm like, what are you doing, Kyle Lowry? You cannot do that. Like that's literally submitting to your opponent at this point. But maybe we're being too harsh on Pascal. Maybe he just needs Kyle Lowry to go just with time now at this point. But I'm still rooting for this guy. I'm not going to get a jersey yet until I get some more All-Star appearances. I'm just saying. But we'll see. But let's get into the deeper dive. Ladies and gentlemen, they released the all NBA teams. I'm going to run through the list for the first team, second team, third team. You give me some yays or nays, all right, boys? All right, we'll do first team. I think this one's pretty simple. Both our guards, James Harden, Luka Doncic. Any opposition there?
Beautiful.
No.
And just remember, this is just based on pure regular season.
Yeah.
Our two forwards, Giannis, LeBron.
Sure.
Center, Anthony Davis. That rounds up the top 5. Do we have any opposition to those?
Perfect. That sounds good to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think all 5 of these guys were in MVP talk. So I mean, as long as we don't see a Paul George, we're good, right?
Yeah.
Second team, I think this is where it gets a little bit, maybe not heated, but at least some discussion. Both are guards: Damian Lillard, Chris Paul. Do we agree with this? I feel like Chris Paul might be a stretch.
But I think if you're going off regular season entirely, I think Chris Paul did really well in the regular season. I think it might be a little bit of a stretch, but I think his regular season was phenomenal, especially compared to what we thought it would be. All of us were like, okay, I don't know if he's going to have the greatest season. And then he was averaging pretty good numbers. So I think he at least deserves a spot on the second or third team. I'm okay with him being on the second.
All right, that's fair. We'll go to the forwards: Kawhi Leonard, Pascal Siakam. I don't mind this at all. I think Pascal played phenomenal, like we mentioned before. Kawhi's Kawhi. I mean, Kawhi's played phenomenal as well. And center, Nikola Jokic. I know a lot of our opinions might change a little bit, but to me, he's still a little under Anthony Davis just in terms of more experience. I know everyone hates me saying that, like, oh, you need more experience, but it's just like I know Jokic can be so good. Right? It's the whole Luka Doncic kind of factor where it's like Luka is already so amazing. I just want to keep seeing more. And once I do see more, it's already solidified at that point. So, and we're seeing this in the playoffs right now, how Jokic is playing. I mean, the guy doesn't look like he doesn't play basketball. I'm just being honest. It looks like a UFC fight that's way too tall to be fighting. So he decided to play basketball at this point.
Yeah. I will say the Chris Paul pick, I don't want it.
Slander.
Dang.
Slander. Hate on this man.
I don't want it. I don't want Chris Paul. Like, yeah, you know what? He did better than expected. That's how he did. He did better than anybody thought he would.
Dang. Well, who gets the spot?
Congratulations.
You threw away Chris Paul. Who gets the spot?
Jimmy Buckets?
Jimmy Butler? I don't think he had great enough stats to be on there. I could be wrong, but
I would rather have Jimmy Butler than Chris Paul, mainly just because Jimmy Butler has proven time and time again that he is worth the respect. And I think this season was like his big, fuck you season. Fuck you to the Timberwolves. Fuck you to the Bulls. I'm going to just like puff out my chest and wreck all y'all lives. And that's what he did. And I personally would rather have Jimmy Butler, but I can see the argument for Chris Paul.
For sure. And
I just want to say, want to throw out the Chris Paul stat line that I think is worth. Man averaged 17.6 points this season, 5 rebounds, and 6.7 assists, shooting almost 50% from the field, 49% effective field goal percentage, 55. I'm just saying, it's respectable, if nothing else.
Yeah,
for sure. No, I mean, he's playing phenomenal. And I mean, Jimmy Butler, 20 points, 6.7 rebounds, 6 assists, already better stat line. Just saying. But Chris Paul, I think Chris Paul proved us wrong. I think we said he was washed up. He definitely proved us wrong. He definitely led that OKC team to the playoffs and almost beat the Rockets to face the Lakers. I mean, let's be real. The Lakers probably would have swept them. I'm gonna be honest. The Lakers lose the first game and then they just win the next 4. That's just how it is. But I think probably Jimmy Butler didn't get the cut just because he's probably labeled more as a forward, even though he kind of plays a shooting guy. Let's be real.
I can definitely see that. Yeah, that makes sense. That's why I was just like, maybe yes to Jimmy Butler, maybe no, because I was just like, he could definitely be a forward more so, but that's just me.
And to be honest, I think the biggest issue is that I hate when they do these specifications. So they got rid of the whole label in the All-Star, right? It's just more front court, back court, which is already too much of a label in my opinion. I just want the 5 best players on one team and the 5 best players on the other team, regardless of size. And this one they specify you need 2 guards, you need 2 forwards, and you need a center. And this means a lot for a lot of players because last year Kemba Walker took a last spot instead of Klay Thompson, and that cost Klay Thompson the Supermax deal. I mean, he still got very close to it, but I'm just saying it cost guys a lot of money because that's part of the criteria to their contracts. And it should be the best players that perform and not just like, oh, okay, he's just hard, and then, he can fit the criteria at that point. But
Right.
yeah, I think first team, second team, I think for the most part, I think we can agree that it's pretty much set in stone. Like, we wouldn't be mad that these guys got their spots. I think the third team comes in question a lot, in my opinion. So for guards, we have Ben Simmons and Russell Westbrook. Forwards, Jason Tatum and Jimmy Butler, as we can see there. And center, Rudy Gobert. Do we have any objections here, boys?
I think forwards are good. I think, I don't know. I have a tough time agreeing with Rudy Gobert, but I don't know who's necessary. I don't know. I'd almost give, for regular season, I'd almost say Brook Lopez for a third team.
Wow, that's a pretty aggressive statement.
I think for the regular season, he did really well. He supported that team exactly how he needed to, and I think because of him, he learned how to shoot the three. He shot the three regularly with pretty good percentage. I think he deserves at least to be in the conversation. And I also just don't like Rudy Gobert because I'm salty.
I totally get the Rudy Gobert hate. I would not put Brook Lopez in there. I understand the reasoning, right? Like, his shooting has definitely gotten better, but Rudy Gobert is just, in my opinion, unbelievable. Like, a much better player than Brook Lopez. But I would definitely swap him out for, like, maybe. I'm really trying to think about this one. This one's like, maybe. Would you consider Bam a center, or is he more of a forward?
Oh, he's definitely center. Definitely center.
I would put Bam in there. Fuck Gobert. I'd put Bam in there, man. Put my boy in there.
Immediate respect to Gobert. Get him out of here. I mean,
No,
I'm
dude,
just saying. Joel Embiid? No discussion for Joel Embiid?
I would
say Joel Embiid, sure.
Don't get me wrong. I love Bam. I'm just saying, I think for a guy that we consider an all-star, I feel like, which is Bam as well. Don't get me wrong. I agree that Bam is an all-star because there's actual proof of that. But Joel Embiid put some ridiculous stats: 23, 12, and 3. I mean, I know 3 assists is not much, but double-double pretty easily. Bam, 16 and 10, 16, 10, 5, also really good. I think what comes into question a little bit is, where's Bradley Beal, boys?
I think
where the fuck is Bradley Beal?
For Ben Simmons at the very least. Like, I have trouble putting Ben Simmons as a guard still, but I think Bradley Beal definitely deserves a spot. The man averaged 30 points a game. Dude. That's dumb.
He's literally made history as the first 30.6 6 assists, I believe, or 6 rebounds. Yeah, 30.6 assist person to not make an All NBA team, which is nuts. All right, that's just disrespect at that point. That's just disrespect.
That's fucked. Okay? So it was Ben Simmons, and then who else?
Yeah, Russell Westbrook, which is it's tough because Russell's 27, 8, and 7. That's pretty good.
I would rather have Bradley Beal than Ben Simmons for sure. I don't think we can discount how good of a player Ben Simmons is. I'm just like deeply frustrated with how he just will not shoot the ball. It makes no sense to me. I don't understand it. It makes absolutely no fucking sense to me. Also, with the Joel Embiid thing, I honestly believe that if he was healthier, I would definitely have him in that spot because his problem has always been health.
That's true. I mean, he did play more games than Russell Westbrook, just saying, so far
Sure,
this
okay,
season.
yeah, sure. That makes sense.
But it's a tough list. I don't know what makes the criteria to make an All-NBA team, to be honest, because I know it's a lot of just voting from the media. To be honest, Beal was just a pure scorer, right? Because there's just no support on his team. There was no John Wall. There's nothing. Bertrand was the next best player, and he popped off too. Don't get me wrong, but like Ben Simmons, 17, 8, and 8. That's pretty solid, and just a pure defensive stopper like for that team.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when like you don't have Joel Embiid there as well for most of those games. Ben Simmons did have to step up. And for the record, on Basketball Reference, Ben Simmons is labeled as a point guard. So that's it. That's the only position they gave him. So some noticeable stubs. We had Bradley Beal, Joel Embiid, Trae Young. I don't know if Trae Young would interest you guys at all in this discussion.
Maybe worth.
Yeah, I could see Trae Young.
Another one I think that actually probably deserved to be on there, Chris Middleton.
Sure, I could see Chris Middleton.
Yeah.
And I believe there should be one more. What about Kyle Lowry for this?
Nah.
Dang. Slander.
I get it. That was a pretty quick reaction to hearing Kyle. I'm not trying to disrespect him. I just don't really
just hate
compared. Him. No, fuck off.
Just say it, man.
Don't put words in my mouth. I just like compared to all those other guys, he's probably like near the bottom of my list. That's all.
That's fair. Trae Young, I like to say, 30 points, 4 rebounds, 9 assists. Pretty solid for the young gunner. It's a tough list to make. I mean, it's pretty tough. It's like, get this guy out of here. But then you're like, well, I mean, like, if he wasn't a part of this team, like, they'd be absolutely trash. Like, and I kind of feel that about, like, Ben Simmons' presence, too.
Yeah.
Because I feel like Philly backbone was Ben Simmons. Like, as much as you want to say, like, the face is Joel Embiid, it's like, Joel Embiid in the fourth quarter gets so tired, and I think we said every time, is that he probably cost them the games in the fourth quarter because he just takes the worst shots. He takes his fadeaways because he thinks he's young Dirk, but the man's already aged older than Dirk at this point with that body of his. But I don't know. It was a tough list. I mean, I feel like the first two teams were pretty obvious. I think if the only thing we want to do, get rid of Chris Paul, maybe jump Ben Simmons to the second team, and then jump Chris Middleton to third team instead.
Interesting.
That's Ben Simmons on the second team.
Or Russell.
I don't know.
We could put Russell.
I don't know. Well, I'll think about that.
And how do we feel about Jason Tatum as a third team? I don't know. He could be. I'm just saying. I think he should probably take Pascal Siakam's spot, in my opinion. I'm just being honest. I think he should be at least a second team. The way he performed in the second half of the season was phenomenal. I mean, I wish the season did not come to a halt, obviously, with the virus, but Jason Tatum was really picking it up. He finally woke up. And I mean, the guy's been killing it lately. I mean, as much as I hate to praise Celtics, I'm just kidding. The Celtics team is really good, to be honest.
Yeah.
But Jason Tatum has been really killing it for this team. So that guy could probably be first team, honestly. Next 2 years, I won't be surprised if it would be the first team.
Yeah, I mean, Jason Tatum has been. Well, the biggest thing is they proved everybody wrong, right? Last year during the playoffs, big question was, where the hell is Tatum? What's he doing? Where's his fire? Because the first time he was in the playoffs, he killed it, right? He was on fire. He was
won it
very, very well. Yeah, and without Kyrie, when Kyrie was injured, and essentially, you now have Jason Tatum who was on fire the last part of the season and during the playoffs, and is like a very, very valuable player. Like, I think the reason why Spicy P got the pick over maybe Jason Tatum was because when you look at the Celtics roster as a whole, they have a lot of contributing factors to why that team is so good. Whereas the Toronto Raptors, they have fantastic coaching, and they have a lot of really solid players that know how to work well with each other. But I look at the starting roster of the Raptors and of the Celtics, and immediately the Celtics just jump out at me. So maybe that's why. Or maybe people just aren't ready to give Tatum that kind of hype. But I am all aboard that Tatum train, Bam. I'm all there. Let's go.
As we move on to our next segment, though, I mean, we may want to get off that Jason Tatum train as he got stopped by the Giannis killer. Bam.
Yeah.
Boys, great discussion for these all NBA teams, but let's get into the real talk. NBA playoffs. Let's get it.